For millennia, it's fueled quests, inspired legends, and just baffled historians. It's probably the most famous and sought-after artifact in all of human history. We're talking, of course, about the Ark of the Covenant. So let's dive into one of history's greatest cold cases. See, to the ancient Israelites, this thing was not just some fancy gold box. It was the physical throne of God on earth. It was a weapon that could level entire cities. It was a direct line to the divine, holding the actual commandments etched by God's own hand. This wasn't just a sacred object, it was God's presence right there with them. And then, sometime around the 6th century BC, it just disappears from the historical record. Completely. No note, no explanation, just gone. And that trail has been stone cold for over 2,500 years. All right, so to solve any cold case, right, you have to go back to the very last place the person, or in this case, the object, was seen. So where does the historical trail of the Ark of the Covenant officially run dry?
Okay, this timeline shows us exactly where things get murky. We have a confirmed location right here, with King Josiah ordering the Ark to be put back into the temple. But the critical window, the whole mystery, is this 40-year gap. Because in that short span of time, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon raids Jerusalem, and then on his final trip, he just burns the temple to the ground. And here's the real kicker. When his scribes make a list of every single treasure they hauled off to Babylon, the most important one, the Ark, is completely missing from that list. So the billion-dollar question is, what happened in those 40 years?
Well, that complete historical silence created a vacuum, and it was immediately filled with theories. Was the Ark just another casualty of war, or was there something more going on with its disappearance? The earliest theories really branch off into two totally different directions, and both of them stem directly from the chaos of that Babylonian conquest. Did the invaders get it, or did somebody else get to it first? So the first theory is honestly the simplest. It was probably just melted down for its gold or destroyed in the massive fire that consumed the temple. A pretty unceremonious end for such a sacred object. But another ancient tradition, which you can find in the book of 2 Maccabees, tells a very different story. It suggests there was a kind of preemptive rescue mission.
And this account is incredibly specific. It claims that the prophet Jeremiah was warned by God about the coming invasion, so he secretly removed the ark, the tent of meeting, and the altar of incense. He then allegedly carried them all the way to Mount Nebo, which is the same mountain Moses looked out from to see the promised land, and sealed them up inside a cave.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates why the mystery has so much staying power. The text itself says the location was immediately lost even to Jeremiah's buddies who tried to mark the trail. And then it gives a condition for it ever being found again. It's gonna remain unknown until some future divine event. So according to this ancient source, we aren't supposed to find it, at least not yet. But a divine warning to just wait? Yeah, that has never, ever stopped treasure hunters. These ancient clues have kicked off a modern, global obsession, with theories spanning continents and millennia. And the theories are, wow, all over the map. I mean, literally. In Aksum, Ethiopia, there's a church that claims to house the Ark right now, protected by a single guardian monk. The catch? Nobody is ever allowed to see it. Okay. Then, back in Jerusalem, some prominent rabbis believe it never even left, but that it's hidden in a secret chamber right underneath the Temple Mount itself, a place so sacred and so politically sensitive that no excavation can ever happen. And then you have maybe the most tantalizing clue of all, the Copper Scroll, found with the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's a literal treasure map listing tons of gold and silver, but its landmarks are so cryptic they've never been identified. It's like every single lead is a locked door.
And the search just gets wilder from there. Some adventurers, like Ron Wyatt, have claimed they physically saw it under Mount Calvary, but there's no verifiable proof. There's even an Irish tradition that connects the Ark to the Hill of Tara, which might have inspired the whole legend of a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. The point is, the Ark's story has become this kind of historical Rorschach test, where people see clues and connections all over the globe. Okay, so after chasing all these earthly leads to one dead end after another, our investigation takes a really surprising supernatural turn. The final clue in this cold case isn't found in a cave or on some map, but in a vision. Right at the very end of the Bible, in the book of Revelation, the Ark of the Covenant makes one last, absolutely shocking appearance, centuries after everyone thought it was lost for good.
So when the Apostle John sees God's temple in heaven thrown open, he says, within his temple was seen the Ark of his covenant. So, what does this mean? Well, there are two main ways to look at it. The first is that the earthly ark was always just a copy and shadow of a perfect original one up in heaven. The second, and way more dramatic interpretation, is that John is seeing the actual original ark from Solomon's temple, which was supernaturally rescued and brought to heaven by God himself.
But ultimately, for believers, the point of this vision isn't really about solving the physical mystery. It's a theological statement. Whether it's the original or some heavenly version, seeing the ark in this final vision is a super powerful reminder that God's presence and his promises, his covenant, they endure, even if the physical symbol of them is long gone. Which, brings us right back to where we started. The searches go on, the theories just keep multiplying, but the physical ark of the covenant remains history's greatest unsolved case. It is lost to us, hidden by time, by earth, or maybe by divine will. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. After all the exploring and all the speculating, maybe the main question isn't where the ark is, but what it really represents. Is the real goal to find a lost artifact made of gold and wood, or is it to understand the lasting promise that it symbolized? Maybe the real treasure was never meant to be found on earth at all.